So it's another, I don't know, beautiful created day, and my stomach is fumbling, right? But we just keep showing up, right? That is the goal. Sometimes you would want to think about it like it's usual to some persons, especially growing up as a child. You know, not thinking about anything. They just feel sleeping and waking up is usual, like a normal thing and all that. So I think if I am probably alive, I think showing up will be a usual thing. But then I want to say, if you are this type of person that get angry, due to some, I don't know, whatsoever occurrence or instances in the past, right? Um, and you have this temper, like you get angry, I would say please, you need to take a chill pill. But if that is too expensive, then what you need is silent. Just stay silent over the whole situation and watch out how it will be, because you were created, believe me, all this in play, right? It's all creation. Someone created this, and so in your own area, field, and part of life, you also create things as well. It's expectable, but that's for the living anyway. But in this video, we'll be talking about I don't know, the area we'll be handling, but I want to talk about manipulation, as it is really really I don't know. Now, before I talk about manipulation, a lot of days, we hear these words. Everyone knows what this word is, right? Because if I can remember, sometimes I use this word even from Nigerian films. I use it to reference talk, like if I can still remember. So, but without knowing that the general purpose of manipulation, that word alone, extend beyond boundaries or beyond fear or whatsoever you could think of. In generally, manipulation is life itself. You can have it in business, in fair, in family, in relationship, especially when you're not thinking about it. You're manipulated. Even as a child, you can be manipulated. It's possible. So it's all about your stage in life, right? That is where your understanding on the word manipulation is. I think I need to excuse me, but I don't know. I'll stay put and see how long I can go. Manipulation in family happens. Manipulation in business, it happens when you're not watching, and it's really really hard. Why is it hard? Because you cannot read people's mind. Of course you can't. So it's not about judging who you feel is your enemy, and when you learn your lessons, you learn it's just someone who was standing beside you, so you never can tell any of these things. So all what we're doing is learning. So I'm talking about manipulation. I can actually be manipulating you into watching this video. So you should be aware, or you could say, oh, I forgot, I am actually scamming you of your mobile data. So manipulation, how is it done, in relationship? If there is time, we could talk about it in family, business, and it's life itself. In as much as scam is concerned, manipulation, all these are life. Like you can't just get it in a video. Like I cannot just sell you. So probably this video is not educative, and am I trying to enhance or encourage this type of activities? No, sorry for that, but I'm not actually sorry. The thing is that manipulation. Sometimes it's done, especially when you have something in mind, right? Not the one. So it's really okay if, or you could say it's encouraging if you have this type of person that don't socialize with people and all that. Like just avoid direct contact except you are in for a business and out for a business. But then it still extends to family, in church, yes, religion, you name it. Someone could be claiming to be a cleric for a particular religion and then feel he or she is inspired by God, and then he will tell you whatsoever. But no, it's not done that way. But that's why I said manipulation is done everywhere. And as well, you're free to walk away from this video unless you enjoy spending or just listening to this blah 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 video I am making. But it's done, like, I don't know, but you know for the washout, then you need this. You don't actually need this type of video, but you'll be highlighted, just wash out while you go about your business. So what about the others you're not seeing? So this is the area I'll be talking about. So you may not probably be liking this type of video, but I'll say that you need to cool the temper, and or just, I don't know, be silent. So let's get started. Okay. Oh, okay, so let's get started. How is it done? Manipulation in relationship. You know, um, it's really hard to tell. Like I said, in as much as you cannot read people's mind, it's really hard and breaking to tell who's manipulating who, right? So, but the only thing you just need is the word. That is the only thing I feel anyone need, the word, right? To be your friend, guide you, whatsoever, blah blah blah, create time, have your activities. But if you're hearing it from someone else, then I would say that person is actually trying to sell you something, definitely. So so in terms of relationship, how can you find manipulation? These things doesn't just happen, right? I mean, for you to find out that you were manipulated, at the end you find out that it was carefully planned, have information and all blah blah, how place of meeting, and there's point of everything, like it's so much bulk. So about stay on the watch out. That's just the thing, because you could be surprised that it could happen to anyone, even this person making this video. Okay. So in relationship, that's where we're talking about. I know, I've mentioned, church, and there is a need for grumbling. Why is it that church is, the first place you would always want to call and all that? But I don't know, but I just find that we are all humans, and practically we are hard to teach. There are some things, even in the religion and all that, you still find it hard. I don't know if anyone could confess, but generally, the word says confess your sins. But I don't know if it's actually for any man. But no, you don't need any man. Like, I don't know. You just, when you look at the mirror, what do you see? You definitely see yourself. So your problem is yourself. Your solution is yourself. You don't need anybody to tell you. If you're seeking advice from anyone, then you definitely need the word, right? So where can you find this word? You do that, and I'm not pointing. So there's a need for grumbling about church, but believe me, manipulation even take place in that place. Gathering, family, no one is exempted. Like, no one. But I want to talk about the relationship aspect when it has to do with social media, But actually, that place has no boundaries. Boy do boy, girl do boy, you do me, blah blah blah, all type of shit. But it's all about the mindset, right? Plan, information, I don't know, management and all that. But this is the most boring video you ever need right now. Oh, it could be two parties, these words, and the definition, someone could be manipulated for good, bad, it's all about the outcomes. That is where we talked about life lessons and all that, where we all learn, and in fact we learn about DIE. And in as much as experience continues in every area of field generally, in this place, it could be two parties decide to come together. Intentions could be for building, but along the journey, one feel cheated, insecure and all that. But wait, where did they meet? Let's talk place of meeting, social media. Aha, social media now, you see this social media, if it was created for probably meeting, oh, I got that wrong. Probably meeting family, friends, workers, connecting, and all that. But it has its own negative side now of it, and it's also for branding, building, and all that. It depends on the area you're functioning. Yes. So and talking about scam, it has a lot of definition. Whichever definition you give, you're correct, right? To all extent. But I would like to use the dictionary definition, which just state I don't know, a dishonest scheme, if at all. But it's a dishonest because at the end, intentions were not pure and all that. Maybe you felt secure, need for security and all that, and you know I don't know. But in place of meeting, generally it could be online. So what do I need? And let's say I want to manipulate a company. We know we have manipulation in family, so family is not exempted. You're not just looking, right? So but if you have this type of information, you can be on the watch out even in family. You would feel not to be manipulated and all that even as a child. That is what it's just casual highlight. That is what this video might actually be doing. I don't know, but we're talking about relationship here. We'll see if we could, if there is time, if it was created. We'll talk about family manipulation, even church is not, you name it, right? So I could decide to manipulate a company into paying me a money or whatsoever, or get information and all that. It's happening. So what do I need? I need a plan, and after having this plan in mind, remember it has to do with physical. Where humans don't meet, there is no manipulation, nothing, not at all. So you could decide to stay off your grid and all that. So you're, and remember, it's always possible or okay for you to say no, right? Give your answers. You're correct. No standard in learning in life, no standard. We just learn every day, new things. Sometimes it's boring, always the same, but you know. The experience can never tell. So so let's just say I want to manipulate a lady. I could impersonate anyone, you know, what you name it. I'll be using myself as an example. So let's just say I want to manipulate someone. You know, it could be a guy talking to a guy. It's all on pretense, a dishonest scheme. So that is why you just need to be on the lookout. And if there is anything you need the word more than anything. You know, at least to stay generalized. You know, I don't know, but I feel you probably be getting that from the pastors. But I'm not actually talking about religion, but I'll be talking about you know, I don't know, manipulation when it comes to religion, because all this is found in every field, right? You may not be doing it, but you know, there are some areas in life I also lack, right? These few words and all that, you can never tell, and you can cut me off grid. And why am I making this video? I don't know. Please, someone tell this boy to actually stop making this video. Uh, so having access to it could be a friend, access to an information about anyone, your favorite actors, celebrities, you know, your favorite shopping platform and all that, without verification, unless you're on the right track and all that. But you know, that's why, you know, I don't know, but I don't know, it might catch your highlights, but I might probably be making something out of this video. So I'm actually not telling you, and I'll be putting it. It's not educative, neither am I enhancing this type of activities. But all this happens. We'll be using negative words in this type of video, like phishing, how it's done even in marriage, you know, contracts, companies, and cryptocurrency wallet and all that. That word phishing, and it's spelled Phixing, but I prefer to say it's the same thing as phishing, Fishing with the hook, right? It's all the same thing, you know. Just the constant trying of something, right? Consistency, that is just it. So find time to talk about all these areas. And I don't know if this is enough, because I feel I am not enough. So I'll be ending the video for now. Enough of the talk.